Well, hello everyone, and let's dive on into our lunch and learn. I don't think I've ever had this many registrations come through with such short notice, but every Monday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, we dedicated a lunch and learn hour for anything related to geographic farming, direct mail marketing, you name it, it's there. And if you have your lunch, awesome. Let's dive in. And if you don't have your lunch, well, bring it next time. So we've got a lot to cover today, and I'm going to dive in while I get my slides. Let me know what state you're coming in from. I always love to tell everyone that's brand new. My goal is to have all 50 states here one of these days. And we do have so many registrations. Maybe we're going to make it this time. We'll see. But that is the goal. So I'm in Illinois, so 12 o'clock Central Standard Time is what we've dedicated. Wisconsin, wonderful. And then we're gonna get going. I highly recommend you are gonna get a workbook today or a sheet of paper. The slides actually came from one of my workshops I've done, and that workshop was packed with lots and lots of stuff. So if you are a note taker, you will definitely be able to take notes today for sure. All right. If you haven't found the little chat icon, it's there. I will drop resources in the chat, so it might be a good idea for you to locate it. If you're multitasking and kind of listening, we will have a replay, but obviously, focus is oftentimes where you will get so many golden nuggets out of it. Okay. So hopefully you can see my screen. I'm going to make it bigger in just a minute. And then let's see. I'm so glad I brought some water today too. Let's see. All right. Hop on in, everyone. Welcome. This is loading. There you go. Lots to cover for sure. Virginia, Florida, love your classes. Awesome. I'm glad. They have been a whole lot of fun to put together. So I am glad you're back for some more. So we have had the lunch and learns now for a couple weeks, and the feedback is awesome. It's been really, really fun. So thanks, Julie. All right. Well, everyone ready? Everybody settled in? Got lunch? Good. Now, real quick, before I dive in, I do have the review one up here. I would love to hear after class today if you tend to be forgetful or you think you have to jump off a little early. Feel free to text the word review right now to 844-950-3580, or you can scan the QR code and it'll actually, if you scan the QR code, open up your phone messages with the word review already in it. And for those of you that have left a review already, thank you. The goal is to grow the reviews of class. So again, feel free to text the word review. I do think everybody deserves a little bit of bribery. So we're looking for an honest review of today's class. And we do send out a business builder box as a thank you, free of charge. So many of you have left us a review thinking like, what do you think about class? I think that's important for us for feedback. For those of you that wonder what's inside that little box, it's essentially just a fun little box for real estate agents. And it's my retention and referral system in a box. It comes with a whole lot of goodies, note cards to stay in touch with your sphere. It comes with a postcard template. So again, you can just text the word review, and for an honest review, we will send you a thank you. If you think the class was great, tell us about it, right? If you didn't like the class, please tell me what to do better, right? I'm here to serve you on the best possible level. And these reviews really help us to be like, oh my gosh, this was good. This was detailed. I learned a lot. And it also helps other agents, right? All right. So that one is our little plug before class. So don't forget to do that after. I would appreciate it. And again, these classes are free, but I do live for the reviews. All right. So the golden letter. How do you generate sellers using direct mail in real estate? That's what today's topic is about. How many of you have heard the term golden letter before? I kind of like to poll the crowd a little bit because I've talked to agents who said, I have no idea what a golden letter is. And I've talked to agents who said, yes, I know what a golden letter is. I just need to know the nitty gritty how, right? So in that event, let me know where you're at. We're going to go over definition a little bit. The term golden letter is really an interesting one. So, and if you have not heard about it and you still jumped on, well, I'm excited. You're in for a really, really good treat today because the results from this golden letter are amazing. So many of you got my email seeing like 20 seller leads from just a little over 100 homes, right, that got a letter, which is awesome. Disclaimer, it's for educational and informational purposes. You have a broker, okay? Make sure that you are absolutely relying on your broker of what you can say and cannot say in your specific state. Again, I'm in the state of Illinois. I'm a licensed instructor in the state of Illinois. So I am most often covering what is allowed or not allowed in the state of, you guessed it, Illinois. But since you guys have resources available and you are a small business owner, I expect you to be having a head on your shoulders and using it for your own business. Fair? All right. So golden letters, such as these are all actually golden letters. Don't look very gold other than the gold background, but they are all golden letter examples. And I want to make sure that we're going to cover them. I want to give you real examples of golden letters, so we're going to dive into these a little more. But I always think it's good to know, is it going to be worth my time, right? So if you're saying, yes, I need real examples and really understand it, this one is it. And for those of you still on the fence about direct mail, because let's be honest, isn't paper outdated, and shouldn't we go digital, and shouldn't we run social media ads and all of this good stuff, right? Direct mail's response rate is 750% more than email. So that comes direct from the Direct Marketing Association. Then we have 70% of consumers prefer traditional mail over cold, unsolicited offers. That's also a big one. And the third statistic I thought I would share with you, 82% of millennials view print advertising as more trustworthy than digital ads. And all of these statistics, I do like to get out of the way right in the beginning for the fact that I think so many people have something about direct mail in their head, thinking it's outdated, it's slow, it doesn't work anymore, it's expensive, it doesn't work for younger people, right? I mean, how many of you had all these things that you may or may not have thought about in terms of mail? Well, and there's actually a whole lot of statistics out there counteracting that. And believe it or not, these millennials, well, they grew up on the internet. Do you know what feels pretty cool to them? Old school mail. That's right. I love mail. I'm a borderline millennial, actually, for that fact. And you can really have some cool impact with it. So let's talk about it. If you still need the workbook, it is a completely free download, comes straight from my Google Drive. I'm going to put that one in the chat. So if you are wondering, why do I want to have a look at the chat? This is why. All right. So here is this one. I'm going to blend it in as well for a little while. It's the hyperlocalagent.com/workbook. Feel free to grab it. And you can jot down all these wonderful notes from class. Now, your goal at every listing appointment is what? Chit chat? Spend an hour or two of a Saturday afternoon? No, right? The goal of every listing appointment is walking out with a signed listing agreement. Now, I don't want a signed listing agreement from you or a signed agreement to start with, right? But I do want you to promise me you're going to take action after with one of the three things I'm going to go over with you. Because at the end of the day, if you're just sitting here and you're not taking action to do something else next, this was a waste of your hour, right? I'll be straight up honest with you. You need to make sure you have a plan in place of what do we do next. And what do we do next can be really simple. In our case here, we only have 3 ways for you to go from these lunch and learn classes. Number 1 is you're going to go and take more classes. We're going to call this our lifetime learner. I'm a learning junkie. Many of you that have been in my classes know that. I love learning. I love knowing how something works. And so many of you also come back, right? I always recognize my lifetime learners. You guys are just like me, learning junkies. For those of you saying, you know what, direct mail kind of sounds cool. I don't know much about it. I would love to pick Janine's brain. We have what we call the book reader pass. I have published 2 Amazon best-selling books that both took #1 Amazon best-selling status on direct mail. Check it out. The link is somewhere around this video under it. And we do currently have a promo going on for 100 free books in September. Okay, so all you got to cover is shipping, or you can go to Amazon. You pick and choose. Now, and then the third part is the action taker. And we call that our mailer bootcamp path for the simple fact that we actually put everything into action, right? When you learn and you sit and you do, right, taking notes and all of that, that's awesome. But that's not action. If you go and read a book, you're still going to fill your brain with more information. That's great, but that's not action. So the action taker path is for those that have done the classes, they've done the reading, they've done the looking. They need to get into action, because unless you get in front of real people, your bank account is not going to reflect that. Make sense, everyone? Yes? So those are the 3 paths, and which is why I say after class, you need to figure out what is your next step, and only you can figure it out. So those are the 3 that we would love for you to consider. There is an access pass for our classes that is, I think right now still in coming soon status, but once we do release it, it's kind of like a Netflix and, enjoy a lot of real estate classes. So that'll have all of our classes on demand available. Then there is the book one. So again, I talked about that one right here. And then the mailer bootcamp, the next one is coming up in a month, I think, or so. So that one is happening as well. Mailerbootcamp.com is that URL. So today's agenda, intro to the golden letter. Okay, so the golden letter and its magical powers. Then we're going to talk about the direct targeting of homeowners. And really, that is a really, really valuable strategy for you guys to have in your back pocket for any sort of mail. And then we're going to talk about the 3 building blocks of the golden letter, do a summary, and we're going to go into part 2. We're going to go through the steps in part 2, do a summary, and then we're going to go through part 3. So there is a whole lot of content today in this segment. I will try to go slow, but I only got 45 minutes left. So what's the golden letter? First and foremost, let's use a definition that we can all agree on, and we have all the same definition for it. A direct mail marketing strategy used by real estate agents, and it's used as a I have a buyer letter, or simply to locate motivated sellers. Think about, hey, do you want to sell? It is so straightforward. That's a golden letter. I have a buyer, or hey, do you want to sell? I need a house for sale. You have a house for sale. Can I sell it? That is all this golden letter is. Now you might say, why is it called a golden letter? And really, it's all about the golden goose, the opportunities that come with taking action. These letters can make you lots and lots of money. Okay. So the purpose for the golden letter is to identify potential sellers and generate seller leads, and of course, listings. Okay. So being really focused on it, it is the most clear message that you can give somebody that you're interested and available to work with them. And when it comes to simplicity, one of the things I've learned over the last couple of years, where everything seems to have gotten more and more difficult, complex, not straightforward, the more simple you make it for somebody, the easier things can be. And I've noticed that in my own training company, I've noticed that in my real estate business. Every time I was just very clear in what it is, things happen so much faster. Anybody relate to this one? When you know exactly what's on the other side, it just happens that people take action. We're going to talk about personalization, your message clarity, and of course, your call to action. So, why target homeowners? Well, let's think about that one. What do we do in real estate, right? We sell houses. And who got houses? Homeowners. So, if you have buyers and you still have nothing to show them, it's a great way for you to also locate off-market inventory. And if it doesn't work for that buyer, oh well, now you have a listing for sale. But the focus of selling houses is a big one. I know we have focused a whole lot lately on the buyer side. How many of you have focused on the buyer side? A lot, just because of changes that happened in August of 2024. I needed to go through my entire buyer side setup, and I needed to shift my focus from my buyers, or from my sellers to the buyers, to make sure that part of my business was compliant, updated, and ready to go. However, you guys know the money is where the listings are, right? Let me know in the comments. Do you prefer a seller or do you prefer a buyer? If you can pick and choose whatever lead you're going to get, which one would you rather have? And as much as I love the excitement of buyers, right, when they find the one, I also know that it can be tough going out there and trying to show them everything under the sun, especially if they're not clear in what they want. And you see in the comments, the first three right here is seller, 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 right? Why? Because you can serve 3 times as many sellers as buyers, right? And yes, I love when buyers find the one. I love the hunt with the buyers. But at the same time, I'm running a business. So the nice thing is, what I'm teaching you today, you can still apply to your buyers. So for those of you that answered, I actually like working with my buyers, right? You can use this strategy right here and become that hero that locates properties off market for them, which is really, really fun too. All right, now let's target some ideas for these homeowners. Who do you think would make a good target for homeowners looking to sell? And I have listed a couple here that you're more than welcome to copy down. But when people have high equity, right, they can put their money to work for them. That's a great opportunity to get in front of them. You have equity, you can use that equity and finally buy this amazing condo you've been wanting on the water that you can downsize to in 5 or 10 years, right? You have long-time homeowners. Now, historically, it used to be that people move every 7 years, right? Anybody have an idea right now what that looks like? I can tell you we are no longer moving every 7 years. It's actually right now about every 13, right? And we'll see how that trend is going to continue, because obviously we have a lot of people that went through a very, very low interest rate period. And I don't know if they're going to be putting these houses up pretty soon, but you guys know how buyers are feeling about these interest rates. I don't want to let go of my 3% interest rate. Anybody heard that before? I've had a lot of conversations with people about that. So long-time homeowners, 10 to 30 years is a good target on that one. Medium or high sales scores, some of that is related to AI items or your tax records. Specific style of homes. If you have a car-loving buyer that wants to have a 3-car garage in a specific area, you can locate these. Or owners with a specific number of bedrooms, right? Specific style of house could also be people that own a ranch. There's a whole lot of targeting options that you have with these letters. You will never run out of ideas of who could I send a letter to today. Now, each of these groups also has their own personal story. If somebody has been in their home for 30 plus years, right, they have probably a very interesting story in that house. Did they raise their children there? Did the children attend the schools there? Do they have doctors that they really do not want to leave unless they have to? Right? Do they have a basement filled with the macaroni necklaces that needs to get decluttered? Every homeowner has their own story. And some of these are telltale signs for us to just assume what is more likely the scenario for them. So we're going to build a personal connection with the homeowners based on these target criteria. So let's talk a little bit about the location of the homeowners. And I do think what I'm teaching you today can be applied in like your entire state. It doesn't matter where you want to send it to. However, I do think there's a massive benefit for you to use this in a specific neighborhood that you're actually focusing your efforts in. How many of you have a geographic farm selected? If you do, I would love for you to think about these people inside your farm and how can you segment them to really take advantage of an additional layer of marketing, a little bit of a different layer of marketing. Okay, so if you're already doing postcards or if you've done a newsletter of sorts, if you've hosted an event, if you've done a pop-by, I want you to think about this specific one as an additional layer to your marketing. So we're going to continue building your brand in a hyper-local way. Yes, you can apply it anywhere, but let's try and see if we can apply it hyper-locally. So the benefits of the golden letter are pretty straightforward, right? What has almost a 100% delivery rate? That is mail. When you look at delivery rates for email, for social media posts, right? Unless you pay to play online, you really have a hard time reaching people. But if you do mail, your delivery rate is close to 100%. Now, also, what has the potential to generate leads for cents on the dollar? That's also mail. And I want to show you a little bit more behind that today. And then while agents are flocking online, getting stuck on the content hamster wheel, and also it's getting louder online, let's remember that, because everybody has now ChatGPT in their back pocket to create content and just vomit AI stuff all over that doesn't even sound like them anymore, right? The focus is now actually better in offline marketing channels, right? When things are not as crowded and people are not just flashing these wonderful shiny objects to people and be like, buy me, do this, click here, right? You've seen it all. The mailbox can become a very, very powerful spot because when I get my mail, I typically don't have my phone in my hand. When I go through my mail, I typically don't have my phone in the hand. And I want you to take, note of what you do today or tomorrow if you already gotten your mail. But what do you do when you get the mail? I want you to analyze your own behavior and see, do you walk to the mailbox with your phone right there, just being like, okay, let's see what we got in the mail, reach in the mailbox, continue on? No, you don't, right? You're going to walk up to a street in most instances, right? If you have a mailbox on the street, kind of have to pay attention to what's going on around you. And then when you have the mail, sometimes you have it in both hands, right? You leaf through it, see what's going on. Your attention is focused, which is amazing. So why don't we capitalize on that focus a little bit more? So I told you we're going to talk about 3 components of really that compelling message. And I broke it down in terms of an opening line, right? A clear, concise message, and the value for the homeowner. Really just 3 parts. And these letters don't have to be long. So what's a strong opening line? And if you want to put one in the comments, I'd be happy to give you some feedback on it. But there are a couple I already wrote down. Quick question. What's your magic number? Do you like money? I drove past your house last week. Like what? Who? Why? Who are you? Let me read some more, right? My math might be off, but I think you're sitting on a lot, and I mean a lot of equity. I printed you a future check on the bottom of this letter. You don't know me, but I have an offer for you. Those are just some examples that you could use to start off the headline of your letter. Okay? Does that make sense, everyone? Everybody had some notes on this one? All of these openers are great ones to spark enough curiosity for the homeowner to say, what's going on here? Let me have a look. And that's the goal. The next part of it is really all about keeping the message clear, concise, and relevant, right? Or current. Clear, concise, and current if you want the 3 C's. Having a clear, concise, and current message helps the homeowner to just see in 1 or 2 sentences, why are you writing me? We're not trying to become pen pals right now, right? Clear, concise, and current. And then number 3, there you go, 3, emphasizing the value. It's all about the value. Last night, I just actually reread the book, The Go-Giver. So for those of you that have not read that one, have a look. But law number 1 was talking about it. Give them more value than the payment that you receive, right? And that's at the end of the day what we're trying to do with it. Give a homeowner more value in that letter by simply giving them what they're looking for. Now, I also want to highlight what not to say. Please do not start your letters with, I hope this letter finds you well. ChatGPT vomit. Blah. Don't do that. Another one, my name is. And we're so drilled to introduce ourselves, but at the end of the day, they don't care unless they know what you want, right? So state what you want first and introduce yourself a little bit further down the road. You didn't hear me introduce myself yet, did you? Some of you may have cared. Some of you may have not cared. So let me introduce myself. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Janine. I'm the owner and founder of the Hyperlocal Agent, a training company for real estate agents wanting to really dominate their geographic farm with direct mail marketing. Okay. You see how we had a good conversation first and foremost, right? And then we got to the introduction part. So a couple things to avoid. Generic language. Make sense? Yes? Everybody on the same page? Awesome. So let's talk about personalization. These letters, and we're not talking anything complicated, right? These are letters. And with any letter, we can actually personalize it. So what could we personalize? I went through a bunch of different things here that you can do to personalize your letter. First up, handwritten versus labels or printed. Now, in an ideal world, I think handwritten is great. However, handwritten is either time-consuming, believe me, been there, done that, or if you do find a little robo-hand, right? Because we've all heard about, oh, there's these machines that will handwrite for you. They're expensive. In most instances, for small business owners, they're pretty pricey. Now, then there's the option to just label it or print it. And I'll give you one of my secret tips that I love to do when it comes to certain things that are handwritten, but they're not. I write it once and then I take a picture of it, and then I just duplicate that handwritten form over and over and over. So for those of you that have something available that you can use it with, there is a bonus tip for you. Write it once and just take a picture and then reprint it over and over. Okay? And then you can just fill in the names. Super easy. Now, return address. Should you put your name on there? Should you put your address on there? Should you put your brokerage name on there, your brokerage address? And the answer is, it depends, right? So if you remember back to the disclaimer, you have a broker. Some of you have certain requirements, such as putting your brokerage address on written or printed material. If that is the case, put your address on there, right? Put your brokerage address on there, your brokerage name. For me, for example, I can just put Janine Sasso, my brokerage name, my brokerage address. Now, does it come from my farm? No, it doesn't, but that's okay. People still see my signs, they still see my name, and it's still me and not just the brokerage. So you can always do a little bit of everything, right? Put your name, put your brokerage, and then put your brokerage address, and you still stay compliant. Next up, colored envelope or a white one. I absolutely love my colored envelopes. Now, the colored envelopes, you can get them on Amazon, is definitely more of a manual labor kind of part. Now we have switched to white ones, which still work okay, no issues with them. And the next part is, well, do you use a real stamp or are they metered? Meaning, like, did they get printed with like a stamp kind of thing? Have you seen those before? It's kind of like a red stamp in the upper corner and you just feel like it got fed through a machine. That's called metered. Now, ideally, right, we just wanted to make sure it looks as authentic as possible. Stamps is great. We're using stamps at the moment, but that was one of the things we decided on, stamps or metered. And the other part, and I think there was one of the questions I just saw come in, why did I switch to white ones? Because we went from a manual way of doing it to an automated way. And automating it just had us no longer be able to use the colorful ones. So we had to switch to white, which is all right. Our response rate still has been good. All right. Now, written from whose perspective? Who should be writing that letter? Should it say, "Hi, Mr. Home Seller, I have buyers looking to buy in your neighborhood"? Or should it say, "Hi, Mr. Homeowner, I'm a buyer and I have an agent who's been helping me look. Contact information is here. Can you reach out if you want to sell?" Which one is better? And the answer is, you have to test it. One works well with one type of buyer and seller, the other one works well with the other. So having two different perspectives too can help you not only craft one letter, but send the same homeowner two different versions of the letters to continue following up. Next up, black ink or blue ink? What's better? Technically speaking, blue just stands out a little bit more. Blue is a better color to choose for something like that. But if you end up with black, you'll be okay. I promise. Style of paper. What type of paper should you use? Any type of paper will do. Do not overthink it. Okay? Now, other personalization items that you could consider on these letters. Addressing the homeowner by name. If you get a letter that has your first name all over it, would you consider this a little bit better than a generic letter that says, "Dear homeowner"? Right? Personalization is so powerful. If you can use the first name, go for it. If you can find specific details about the property or the neighborhood, reference it. So what could that look like? Let's say I own a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in, let's see, Dreamtown Estates. okay, the more detail I put in there, saying, hey, I have been looking for a 3-bedroom home, 2-bath, in Dreamtown Estates for my absolute wonderful buyer clients. And it seems like your property was just over 2,000 square feet might be a perfect fit. So excuse me for the out of the blue letter, but do you mind if I ask, would you consider selling to them? My information is below, right? Super simple. What is holding you back from sending it? After we just been through the nitty gritty, right? You can just literally type it on your WordPad, hit send to the printer, print it out, stuff an envelope, and drop it off. So I want to know what's holding you back from doing it. Postcard versus letter. Also a good one. Oh, there's some good questions. So we're going to continue on because we're going to answer a couple of those. You really have to think about what's holding you back, because at the end of the day, it really should not be anything that's holding you back from taking action. So here's an example of a golden letter. This one says to, right? First name, last name. So in case you have a buyer you're currently working with, I think I saw somebody that said, I love working with buyers. You can address the first name, last name of the homeowner, right? Jane Doe. I have shown my buyer every single house in your neighborhood that became available over the past 3 months and actually also placed an offer on one of them. We're currently looking to locate number of bedrooms. Let's say 3 bedrooms and a minimum of 2 bathrooms, ideally within a certain zip code in this case. So please excuse the out of the blue letter, but has there been a thought of selling in the next 3 to 6 months? Or have you heard about a neighbor who might be thinking about selling in the near future? I'm expanding my efforts to all possible avenues and hope you can think of someone. My best contact info is below. A letter like this is not just asking them if they are the ones looking to sell. It is also currently putting thoughts in their head about who else in the neighborhood, right? And this is if you have a buyer. We're going to switch it in a minute to the other part because I can see the comments going in. What if I don't have a buyer? We'll cover it. Don't worry. So real quick summary so far of part 1 before we dive into part 2. I just want to recap because there's a whole lot. Okay. Target ideas for homeowners. Who could we target? I gave you 5 different ones, and I want you to think about this a little bit as a mix and match Lego scenario, okay? If they are high equity, long-time owners, medium or high sales score, right? That's our who. The next one is the letter template itself. Mix and match, right? It's kind of like I'm going to do this one and this one and this one. Then we had, just to recap, personalization. Nothing here is difficult. I need you to just decide which one am I gonna go with. So if you want to take a screenshot of this one, if you're on your phone, and just circle the thing you're gonna decide to do, right? Will I handwrite or will I print it? Circle 1 or 2. Return address. Do I have to put my name in or do I have to put my name and the brokerage name on there? What type of envelope am I gonna use? Circle the one you're gonna use. Am I gonna use a stamp? Or do I get it metered? Will I send a postcard or will I send a letter? Right? Circle, circle, circle. Really, really simple. And you start seeing how you're making decisions in the process, right? Decision making. Everybody's good with that? Because that was just the part 1, the setup, if you will. And we talked about the strong opening headline. I gave you 6 different examples. So in this case, you could use one of these letter templates and just change out the hook, right? 6 different hooks. Pick and choose which one you like best. And then keep your message clear, concise, and current, and emphasize the value of for the homeowner. What's in it for them? So with that said, let's move to the next part, because we talked about the setup, right? Everybody's good. Let's talk about the crafting and sending of the perfect golden letter next. We're going to talk about the tips for writing an effective golden letter, including your tone, your language, your content. I'm going to give you the guidelines for personalizing the letter to make it more relevant to the homeowner. And I'm going to give you some examples of golden letters that we have written and that we're using. Okay? So, first up, I saw the questions. You need to understand your audience and you need to understand what you have. Do you have a buyer? Right? So many asked, what if I don't have a buyer? If you don't have a buyer, then say it, right? The golden letter is not about I have a buyer. The golden letter is all about a direct question to the home seller. Are you looking to sell? So if you have a buyer that's looking for a home in a certain area, awesome, in search of, right? If you have a buyer that has a specific type of home within a radius, or maybe they want to be in a certain school district or near a train station, maybe something else that's really important to them. Maybe they want to be only on the beach, right? But if you don't have a buyer, well, you're looking to provide home sellers compelling reasons for listing their home for sale. Did you know that right now is probably the best possible time to list your home if you really want serious buyers that are not just going to be trampling through your house to just have a look? Why don't you take advantage of this right now, right? If you're looking to be connected with a potential home seller through one of the letter recipients, that's also another great way. And I showed you that in the letter template before. Can you think of anybody in your neighborhood that is currently looking to sell or is thinking about looking to sell? Right? So you're taking the pressure of that recipient of the letter and asking them, it's not about you, but if you know somebody, who is it? And people are actually more willing to give you information if it's not necessarily about them. So regardless, if you're looking for a home for your buyer or you're trying to dig up a listing, the objective is the same. Tailor the message to address a specific need and motivations of potential sellers. So for those of you saying, what if I don't have a buyer? Does it matter? It doesn't matter. Just don't say I have a buyer if you don't have a buyer. That's called lying and not good. Everybody good on that? And I know we feel bad about just asking, have you thought about selling? If we don't have anything to offer them, well, we think we have nothing to offer them, right? But if we really dig into that part a little bit more, you have a lot to offer them. Because it's either you or the agent that's just in it for the money. Most often, I sit on these lunch and learns with agents that actually really, really, really care a lot about their clients. Do you care a lot about your clients? Let me know in the comments. Because when I sit in these lunch and learns and people are actually trying to get better at what they do, not just because of the money, I mean, yes, we all like that, but also because we know we are the better choice for these agents. We are going to work harder, we're going to do better, we're going to try and get them more money, we're going to be just the best possible agent that they can hire for the same amount of money it takes to hire a really crappy agent that is in it for the wrong reasons. Agreed? Yes? And that's the part that I think we have to understand, that even if you don't have to offer a buyer to them, you offer them something that's much more valuable. And you see it right there coming in through the comments. You offer yourself doing the right thing. And you'd be surprised how many people need to hear that. I can tell you, I have told several people that selling right now is not a good idea. I almost talked them out of that, right? That's a good statement to make. Why is that? Because when they looked at all their options, they realized that their current option that they had was actually the best one. Right? They're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I should just stay put. But that takes a good person to say to somebody. And that's the part where I think we really have to stop telling ourselves, I have no buyer to give them, so that's why I have no value to them. No, you have value. You have a lot of value by doing the right thing. Okay? So if you don't have a buyer, that's okay. You can still be the best possible agent for them. All right. So what do we do next? We need to communicate value. And as it relates to homeowners, typically there's 3 components in there that are important: convenience, speed, financial gains. And we assume oftentimes it's all about the money when it's not always about the money. I want you to think back if you've ever sold a property and the financial aspect wasn't the number one reason why they either accepted an offer, right? Or why they decided to go with that person. It was something completely different. I know we all are looking to make the most amount of money when it comes to real estate, right? But not every seller has that as the number one objective. If they make good money and they get, let's say, convenience, this offer here is not the highest, but they said, I just had that happen actually. We didn't accept the highest offer. We accepted the offer that said, we're going to do as is, we're going to waive the inspection, and you can leave anything behind that you don't want. And after being in a house for a long, long time, guess what just looked really, really good to my seller? I don't have to clean up my crap. That just became the number one factor in this that they absolutely loved. Convenience is all about that. Speed was the other one, cash offer. So convenience, speed, and sure, the price was great, but it wasn't the highest offer. So think about what can you offer a seller based on what they're looking for. You don't want to give the house away. This is not what this is about, right? And it's also not necessarily about making an investor offer of like, hey, we'll give you a really, really cheap offer and then we'll just flip it, right? That's one of the ways you can use this letter, but not the way we use it in real estate. So hopefully that explained that part a little bit more. All right. Closing up with a CTA, or call to action. The CTA is probably the number one thing I correct on marketing pieces for agents a lot, right? So encouraging the homeowner to take the next step is obviously what the call to action is designed to do. It might be to contact you. It might be to just get their home evaluation, right? It might also be to locate the buyer match in your database or forwarding the letter to someone that might be interested. Either one of these call to actions might be a good fit. For example, if you have a database of buyers currently looking, or your office has, and you have talked to your office about promoting this, right? You can leverage databases to say, hey, I have currently these 3 buyers. Why don't you go ahead and claim your buyer match? Make them take an action, identify themselves as, hey, I'm interested. Another way to go about it is, hey, here's already a free home value for 123 Main Street. Just go ahead, click the link, and you'll have it in your inbox in the next 30 seconds. And of course, let's not forget our wonderful QR code. And we'll talk about the tracking in part 3. Okay? So those are just a couple different ways to include a call to action to have somebody take the next step. Because think about it, just like you're sitting here on class and I said you have 3 paths after this, what do you want the homeowner to do? You need to define the path, just like I've defined the path for you. What is the action you want this homeowner to take? How can they, in so many words, raise their hand and say, hey, I think I might be the person you're looking for. I thought about selling my house, or I've talked to a neighbor, right? So when it comes to personalization, there's a whole lot of different ways to go about it. And personalizing these letters just makes it more, standing out and converting also when you send this out. Anything that makes it less generic is a win for you. So what could you use in terms of the available data we have to make it less generic? And of course, there is the first name and the last name first and foremost, right? Let's say we're going to have Jane and John Doe. If I say, hey, Jane and John Doe, I see you've owned your house for 27 years, and it happens to be that your 4-bedroom, 3-bath home with 2,650 plus square feet in 60010 is exactly the type of home my buyers have been longing for. Versus, hey, I'm looking for a house in 60010. Have you thought about selling? Do you see how there's a difference just because I personalized it? Right? Now, what else can we use? Tax amount. Hey, I saw your taxes went up from 2023 to 2024. You've been in the house for 27 years, and I'm sure you have seen quite a few increases in tax amounts. But in the event you're getting ready to maybe downsize or find, or even go out of state like many of my other sellers, I do have currently a buyer that is looking to get into these schools. So if this is of interest and you love to sell, please connect. So now we have a pain point, such as tax increases, that we can use as an in, right? You can talk about the interest rate if that is available to you in your data fields. A big one that we absolutely love using is the image of the home. When you send a letter, and I don't think I have one here, but if you send a letter that has the image of their house, okay, their house available, people really get floored. They're like, this is my house. Guess what mail piece they do notice? The one you sent, right? An image of their house is an immediate eye-catching, like, ooh, I know this house. If it's a brand new development, I will say there's nothing there for the Google images most often. But that is another way for you to just go ahead and be different. Hey, I had a look at this house right here, which is their house. And according to the tax records, it's showing that you have, list the specs, right? 3-bedroom, 2-bath. In the event this is not accurate, please let me know. But based on all of this, it might be a perfect match for my buyers, right? So that's another way. Lot size, you can talk about lot size too. That's a good one. Anything that makes this a more personalized experience, that feels like you wrote this letter to them one by one by one. And the good news is there's softwares out there that you don't have to do that, right? It's kind of like good old school mail merge. Now, the next part, obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about visual designs and formatting. And this one here is one of the coolest graphics. There's others out there. But obviously, it's important for us to stay on brand. Consider your fonts. Don't use these cutesy fonts that nobody can read, right? Colors, black on white still works best. And then, of course, layout. Don't have it too cluttered. It is really clear, concise. When somebody scans the letter, we would want that somebody to understand what we want. If I have to read through 3 pages before I understand what you're asking me for, it's too much, okay? So let's talk a little bit about tracking and how you can actually see if something is working for you or not. I have to hurry along a little. We're running out of time otherwise. So When it comes to tracking, there's a couple things you can do to make it just better. And at a certain point, you're going to start making tweaks for the betterment of it. One is smart QR codes. In general, tracking QR code scans, seeing how many people actually visit your website from the letter. You can, of course, count on the opt-ins, the calls, the texts, or how many emails you're getting. But any of these things will give you an idea. And I hope if you got my email, you looked, because that email that was sent out, let's see, I got to pull it back up. It said, just checked analytics, and it was 20 scans for 153 homes. So a scan is a seller lead coming in. So 20 scans for 153 homes. That's all based on the tracking, okay? Knowing if something performs. So these here were some of the ones that we have used. And this image here, for example, is where you can put the recipient's home right there. So when they open the letter, it's the first thing they see. And then it says year built, and you enter the year it was built, the square footage, right? How big is the house? Number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms. If there is an estimated value projection from the tax records, you could put that here. And a simple letter, to, and then the last name. Okay, so let's say the Does, the Doe family. I was in the neighborhood and couldn't help but notice your home. I was wondering if you would consider selling if the number was right. I understand the number really needs to be right, so please feel free to send me a message if any of the info in the tax records are not right, so I can provide you with a better number than what I saw listed in the tax portal. Do you think it's clear, concise, and to the point? Do you think you would look and see if this is accurate? Right? You're gonna go back over it. It is simple. And I hope you took a screenshot of it so you can do it this week. Here's another one. We currently have a high demand for homes with number of bedrooms and minimum number of bathrooms in a certain subdivision. With homes selling at extreme favorable terms for sellers, my last few sellers experienced the following: some or all of these. Multiple offers, waived appraisal, cash offers, no repairs, no inspection. If you are ready to experience this for yourself, reach out now before the market shifts again, like it did last fall. Okay. Do any of these so far scream I have a buyer? No. Okay. So far, all they're saying is you want to reach out to me. Next one, 2, first name, last name, their address in regards to the property address. Selling a home is never an easy decision, so I wanted to make sure that I reach out to you right away. I've helped many homeowners in your neighborhood evaluate if they should sell now or hold off a little while longer. Oh, okay. So you're not just calling me or messaging me or sending me a letter to sell my house. That is also good to know. Okay. It's like taking out some of that anxiety when people call. Any of these letters, do you think you can hit send on any one of these this week? Is there anything holding you back from taking the action and sending something out this week? There shouldn't be. Which now this is bringing us to the end of part 2. I have one small segment left, so we're going to run a little over. Sorry. Okay? But we talked about, does it matter if you have a buyer or no buyer? It doesn't matter. Just don't lie. We talked about personalization you can use inside these letters. Okay? We talked about the call to action at the end. So the last and final piece of this is all about implementing and optimizing. And this one I'm going to just go through a little bit quicker, but I want you to really think about some numbers. What if we were to send, and some of these here, the numbers are based on our back end, what we use for automations. Okay, if you do it manually, your cost per letter might be lower, but you will be investing your time to print, stuff the letter, and all of that good stuff, okay? So what if you were to send 200 letters a week consistently? Out the door, you'd be spending about $262 a week-ish, right? A little bit less if you are doing it manually and you're going to invest your time, or roughly about $1,000 a month. Will one seller lead pay for this for you, right? Plus, you have 799 more opportunities. If only one said yes, what about the other 799 letters that are still sitting at somebody's kitchen table? Now, for those of you saying, oh my gosh, $1,000 a month, can't do that. Fine. What if you were to send 200 letters a month? Okay, times 12. If you are staying consistent for one full year in the next upcoming year, 2025, you stay consistent, you send 200 letters a month, 50 of them a week, or just hit, send once. That's 262 for the month. Will one seller lead pay for a golden letter campaign for you? Plus the other 199 opportunities every single month times 12, right? The biggest one is you have to really think about the planning and scheduling the campaign timeline. You got to figure out your resources and the budget for printing, postage, follow-up activities, right? And of course, a checklist for assembling the necessary materials and data. And I hope you took a screenshot of the ones I sent you, because putting these together, you can use them over and over and over. Okay. Now, what if you were to partner with a lender and you put your stuff on the front and the lender puts their stuff on the back? Could that decrease your cost? Right? Because at the end of the day, we're all thinking about a cost. How many of you had a lender conversation? I would love to send out a letter. I can have the front, you can have the back. Want to do it together? Right? Have a conversation. It can start out as, hey, I'm not looking for you to take me out for lunch. Here's much, much rather what I would love for us to do together. So let's talk about the resources, because we do need resources. And there's two ways to go about this. You're going to need time. You're going to need paper, letter, and postage. Okay? Or for those of you that are saying, man, that's a lot of stuff, right? You need a little bit of time, and you got to cover some postage. So how does that work? One of them is manual. That's you sitting down, making some time, hitting print, stuffing the envelopes, right? Putting the postage on it, making sure you can do all of this. And then for some of you guys that are on here, you have GeoCentral access. You just need a time to set it up once, and then they're covering postage on it. So what are the steps? The target audience. We talked about that in part 1. Who, right? Who are you sending it to? Letter template. Did you pick one of the letter templates I've shown you? Or will you pick one of the ones? Do you want to create your own? I showed you what should be on it, right? What's your follow-up plan if a seller says, yeah, I thought about it, but you know what? I'm still thinking. Do you have a plan in place to follow up with them for the next 3, 6, 9 months? Right? If the answer is no, we call that a leaky bucket. If we have leads coming in and we don't know how to nurture them for the long term, they're just going to fizzle out and forget all about you. And of course, do you have time set aside? Like literally, did you put it in your calendar saying, I'm going to work on this today? I wouldn't show up for these lunch and learns if it wasn't in my calendar, blocked off, because somebody decided to probably just schedule something instead. Might that be an appraiser? Might that be a buyer? Might that be a seller? Doesn't matter. My calendar gets blocked for the activities that are important to me and my business. Okay? So treat it like that for your own sake too. We talked about some of the campaigns. So I'm going to show you a couple of the ones that I've done. I have access to Remine, which is one of the tax portals. If you have RPR, that is going to work just as well. Okay? So here's a couple ones. There's a zip code. Who has owned that house for more than 5 years? I've done that one. Here's a subdivision within my farm. And I only wanted to see everybody that has owned a house for more than 15 years. I've built a list based on ranches before, okay? There's another subdivision, more than 5-year ownership. Here's an entire other subdivision. There's circle prospecting ones. So like just listed and under contract. So we've circle prospected around there. So 200-ish addresses around it. 0 to 5 years, brand new people to the area. Let's see, we've done so many. We call it an island. It's a little bit on the other side of the street by itself, so I call it an island. But I've done those, okay? So just to give you an idea that you have the ability to create lists within your farm that are just smaller and more hyper-focused. So if you have a geographic farm selected, try to apply a couple of these filters and see what you come out with, okay? Let's see, and then I'll go through the questions. I'm just reading some of them. So what if you don't have a mine, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I don't have a tax portal. I don't know how to do that. You're already starting to take your own momentum out of this, okay? Don't let the excuses building up in your head, okay? It's gonna happen really, really fast. At the end of the day, it's not because you don't want to take action. You're here to learn to take action, right? But it's all about your brain. It's the same reason why our family and loved ones to like tell us, play it safe. It's okay. You're fine. Don't take any risks, right? It's a survival instinct. We all have the same one. It's only that, well, we're not longer chased by saber-toothed tigers or giant mammoth. So it's okay to take a little bit more of a risk these days. Okay? Your death is not imminent with this anymore. So think about it. What will it take for you to take an action and just push past the excuses? Right? Even if you just hit print at home, put 10 letters in front of you, 10 letters a day. That adds up to 50 letters a week if you do 10 Monday through Friday. If you do 50 a week, that's 200 for the month. It's all about the action, okay? Nothing scary is going to happen if you just hit print and then deliver it. And in person, if you don't want to put a postage on it. So push through that one. Ask yourself, how can I get one step closer? Okay, I gave you literally all the micro steps right now. Was there a lot? Sure. But you need to figure out your first micro step. Okay, we refer to this one as how do you eat an elephant? And it breaks down into the micro steps. Micro step number 1, right? Who is my target? The goal is to send out a golden letter. But the steps that need to happen, I just broke down for you. Who is my target? Can I add personalization? Do I have a letter? Let me personalize that letter. How will I deliver it? Now I'm going to have to pick a date to deliver it. Okay? Put all these little action steps in there and then just start working your way through them. It is really not that scary. So other things to think about. Do you have RPR? Do you have a title company you can ask for names or data? Do you have a lender that you can ask for help, right? Google list services for real estate agents. And we also have one that is geoessential.com/list. Use ours, okay? You can pull a list of the most likely to list homeowners with it. Focus in on something and then go take action. Now, I sent my personalized batch through GeoEssential. I use merge fields inside the print portal and I automate it. That helped me freeing up a lot of my time personally. Okay, so now it's all just a matter of getting it done. Now, getting your templates set up is an important step of this, right? Getting your list imported is also important. And then remember, you can also go the manual route. If this is just, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do all of this, hit print on your printer, stick it in an envelope, either walk it to the door or put a postage stamp on it, but do not sit on that letter. Just hit send, drop it off, okay? And then be prepared to follow up with leads. They are real potential sellers. Now, for tracking, I do want to show you what we use with GeoEssential for the smart QR code. Essentially, when our sellers scan our letter, our postcard, right, what it does for us is it texts us the seller lead straight to the phone. So I'll show you how that one works if you've never seen it. I want to show you what happens with a smart QR code. Okay, so I just got this postcard here that you see is like personalized, and it has a smart QR code on the back. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to scan it, and you're going to see on my phone what happens. So turn it around. Let me find the camera button. Okay, so this one here is my phone, and then this one here is my husband's phone. So we're going to go ahead and get this one up. So there you go. All I did was scan my QR code. And right there, I just got a message that said so-and-so scanned the QR code. Kind of wild, right? So really fun when your postcard gets scanned and they haven't submitted a form, they haven't done anything else. All they did was scan our QR code, which then triggers a text message. So lots of fun stuff. Now, let's go through that one. Building your golden letter campaign. Target audience. Who are you going to send it to? It doesn't have to be to the entire neighborhood. The letter template you're using, do you have that one selected? Follow-up plan in place for sellers, right? If you do get a seller, how are you going to follow up with them? And then set aside some time to do it. When are you actually sitting down to work on your business? Not just in your business, but on your business. I showed you a couple of our micro campaigns as well. And at the end of the day, it's all about the step by step. All right. Now you have all the actions. I've been through it. So for those of you that have made it for a little over an hour, how was today's class? You have all the steps to now go through. We'd love for you to leave an honest review of it, right? The action part needs to come from you. You have to take the action, because without it, it's just another class, right? And then also put the number in here. That's the word review. So for those of you that can take a minute, we would love for you to review class. If you want to dive deeper into mailers and you're like, okay, that sounds to be working, I can do something like that. Remember, Action Taker, that's the bootcamp, or the book Success with Real Estate Mailers also has a lot more detail on there. Luckily, it's not a choice. Every book purchase does come with a free bootcamp ticket, so that is possible. Links are below this video somewhere. And the action is really, really important. So the action takers that are waiting for the next bootcamp, it's happening within a month or so. So that one is going to be a lot of fun. Bootcamp is always there to get into action, hit send, and actually do it. So for those of you that are still having questions, I'm going to go through some of these. But your job for today is really to pick out all the pieces and then say, where am I going to go from here? Is it time for me to get into action? Do I have to learn some more? That is what you have to figure out for yourself. Okay? So let's see what we got on some of these. Some of the agents have Remind and RPR. If they reach out and you do have a buyer, but they have to sell first, how do you handle that? That's not a big deal. Who do you represent? You represent your buyer, right? So your job is to make sure that they accept the home to sell contingency. Done and done. If they say yes, how do you keep them in check on pricing? If I received such a letter and considered selling, I would be asking over market. Well, if your seller or if your buyer is desperate for that one, maybe they will consider it. And if not, no is always an answer. Unrealistic expectations are not going to work. I said the number has to be right. And I understand the number really has to be right. But the market is the market. And you're not making the market, and the sellers are not making the market. They can ask all they want. Who's making the market is the buyer. What if you actually do not have a current buyer? Michelle, I hope we answered that one for you here. You don't need to have a buyer. Would you send this out if you truly had interested buyers, or are you still sending these out to see their interest in selling? Would you send this out if you truly had interested buyers? Of course, I would dig those up for my buyers. It's part of our value add. Postcard versus letter, we do have them in both formats, and the answer is test, test, test. I do like postcards being more affordable for us to send it over the letter, but the letter response rate has been really, really good. Let's see. Answer those. All right. Well, it looks like we made it through all the questions. Those were good. And again, buyer or seller, it doesn't matter. It's a piece of paper, right? It's a piece of paper, and it's the action you are putting out there. Get an accountability buddy and just say, hey, we're going to go get that done. All right. So we ran a little over today. So for those of you that are currently texting all those reviews, just click review, hit send, and we're actually sending you our Google link. So the 402 number, thank you for the review. Just hit send on the word review, and then we'll get you our Google link, and you can just copy and paste it in there. That would be awesome. And for the other ones, thanks again for tuning in. Next Monday is going to be another fun class. And have a fabulous Monday, and hit send on the letters. I promise it'll be amazing. Bye for now.